Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and I'm not alone. I've got a Xeon, I've got a Felix. Say hello, you two. And
Hello, you two.
Alex
really
has
should have
raised us
expected that.
well.
Yes, and we come with the news. We'll just say the news, the neutral news, that the Nintendo Switch 2 Joy-Con, at the very least, we can't confirm anything else, will not have Hall effect sticks. And this comes from an interview that Xeon did with our colleague Alana with Nate Bildorf. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah, yep. Nate, he's
Nate
been
Bildorf.
long-time Nintendo employee and Nintendo fan. If you look back at old Nintendo Directs, he was in quite a few of them. Worked on many games like Metroid Prime, Animal Crossing, lots of the Mario games. But yeah, he's a real veteran.
Very cool, yeah. We have the question here. This was specifically asked by Alana. The question was, let's jump off the sensitivity stuff then and talk about the stick of the Switch 2 Joy-Con because it feels so different to the original Switch's analog stick. So, is it a Hall effect stick? Were you inspired by the Hall effect stick? And Nate responded with, well, the Joy-Con 2's controllers have been designed from the ground up. They're not Hall effect sticks, but they feel really good. Sorry, I hadn't read that in advance. Did you experience both the Joy-Con and the Pro Controller? And then it goes on. But it is confirmed they're not Hall effect. And for anyone who doesn't understand, they may have heard the term... I feel
Me too.
You may have heard the term Hall effect bandied around and things like that. It's another way of essentially measuring the input of something like a control stick. Not exclusively, but something to that effect. And whereas standard sticks use a pair of potentiometers, Hall effect instead does not use a physical system, as it were. So potentiometer in this case, it's almost like you've got like a it's like a strip, and there's like a wiper going back and forth, and that increases or decreases the resistance a number. The console can read it and go, ha, that number means this, and that's how it reads it. It has two of them, so it can do it in two axes. Hall effect, on the other hand, uses magnets, which means nobody knows how they work. That's not true. But no, Hall effect uses magnets, and therefore you don't have that resistance, because you've got the wiper and the blade rubbing across. And of course, it's very smooth, but over time that does wear out because you are creating friction like that. Hall effect, there is no friction. And so in theory, and I do mean in theory, they can last a lot longer than standard potentiometer-based sticks. We say in theory because they've only been around realistically at this level for a short period of time. They have been around in the past. I believe I want to say the Sega Saturn used Hall effect sticks. It was either the Saturn, I don't know, but there was definitely, they're not new technology by any stretch of the imagination, but in this application, they're starting to become more commonplace in certain third-party controllers. However, this time around, we are not seeing it in Nintendo's first-party efforts.
Yeah. I can say that the joysticks, they do feel different. And Nate kind of in the interview as well went on to point out like how quiet they were.
Yeah, I saw it like in a blog post or something. They went in, like they wanted them to be less clicky when you did that. They wanted to make the perfect controller.
I wonder what the reason for them not going with Hall effect sticks is. I mean, we could bust one of them open once we finally receive one, but I wonder if Nintendo's kind of like designed the sticks with their own. If they've tried to replicate Hall effects, but they don't want to call them Hall effect sticks, or if they're
Nintendo effect sticks.
If they're putting forward the withered technology theory where they don't want to use Hall effect sticks yet because they're too expensive to manufacture. I wonder what the reasoning is.
Possible.
Hey, as long as they work, I'm happy. I don't care what they call them. Just don't drift. I've had too many issues with it.
Well, the thing is that, and I don't want to downplay the Joy-Con drift effect because it is a big deal and it was very prominent with Joy-Con specifically. But it is not by any means exclusive to Joy-Con. It was just very prevalent.
Yeah. Oh yes.
I mean, I've got my wife's PS4 controller has drift, right. And honestly, the number of hours that she's put in on that controller are decent. I would probably say a couple of hundred, at most. Mm-hmm. That's not a long time to get drift at all, and it's quite substantial drift. There's no cure, as far as we know. You can replace the sticks, of course, but sort of there's a number of things. I remember even on the Xbox 360, my brother got a 360, and I remember playing Oblivion, and I remember using his controller and thinking, why am I constantly slowly panning? I didn't know what it was, but the right stick was drifting. I'm guessing because the dead zone was very small on Oblivion for whatever reason, but this is not new. This is not a new problem. And Hall Effect, in theory, does fix that. But there's also the possibility that Hall Effect has other issues that are not yet fully understood. Hall Effect has been around for a long time. It's used in a lot of manufacturing processes and things like that for control, because it doesn't have potentiometers, and there's all sorts of crap flying around in factories and things like that and construction sites. You don't want, sort of any crap getting in and causing problems. But the thing is that those will be made to a much, much sort of finer tolerance, much smaller tolerances than a video game controller. So we don't know, sort of using a cheaper Hall Effect system, what that would entail. And I still think it's disappointing, personally. What do you guys think?
Well, I did want to point out, too, if you read further into the interview, we actually did ask Nate as well about stick drift. Do you mind if I read that
Go
section
ahead,
out
go ahead,
too?
please do.
So I asked this question, but I said, speaking of the sticks more, we know the original Nintendo Joy-Con had many issues with stick drift, and Nintendo's not alone in that. PlayStation has lots of issues with its DualSense controllers as well. Do you know if that's being taken into consideration with the new Joy-Con and Pro controllers, and how that was handled to remedy that? And Nate responded by saying, really, every time we put out a new hardware, whether it's a new system or an accessory, Nintendo is designing from the ground up for the best possible experience for our consumers. Whether it's the immediate effect of the Joy-Cons that you're playing, how they're interacting with the game, or durability, they take it and rebuild it so we can give the best possible experience. Which felt quite like a non-answer. But the thing I do like, at least here, is it kind of sounds like... Right. It kind of sounds like these Joy-Con... or the analog sticks in the new Joy-Con are new. So theoretically, I would imagine, right, Nintendo didn't they have a lawsuit against them about the original Joy-Con too?
They had a lot of problems with
Yeah.
it. It was a very big issue.
So it sounds like they're taking it seriously.
So that answer is a classic example of something called political language, which I studied at college, not so much at university.
Okay.
On the face of it, it sounds like an answer, but it's not actually saying anything. It's not answering the question. It is just giving a statement, and that's very typically used. It's called political language for a reason, because it's used a lot by politicians. It is basically, he hasn't answered the question. And I'm not saying, how dare he not answer the question. This happens all the time. He's probably not allowed to answer the question, or he doesn't have a good answer. But that is what's happening there.
But yeah, Alex, you asked before how we felt about
Yes.
it, and I feel quite indifferent. As I said before, if it works, it works. Of course, it sucks that we have a thing that works really well and that's not implemented. And if it then starts drifting, then I'll be upset that it isn't Hall Effect. But if it works, I'm fine. Like, they can have whatever they put in them. I just want to play my Mario Kart, have a fun time.
It's very old technology, the old potentiometer system, as in the Hall Effect isn't exactly new either. But it's very old technology. Nintendo understands it. And I can understand the reluctance to go with a new technology that they maybe don't understand as well. I would hope they have taken consideration, they have taken measures in order to prevent drift as much as possible or mitigate it. But we will have to see. The proof of the pudding will be in the eating, and that eating isn't happening for, well, in reality, probably a year or so.
Yeah.
Is the only time where we're going to be starting to see this sort of thing. Unless it happens sooner, and that is a big problem.
True. And all of this stuff is so situational as well, right?
It is.
And it can become so personal for someone as well. Like my one of my DualSense controllers just started drifting recently, very drastically, like where the joystick will, like, it'll do a 180-degree turn on me when I'm playing It Takes Two or Fortnite, and it's awful. And now I'm quite
terrible.
scared to get another DualSense, and in the case of, like, is that going to happen in 2 years? And Sony, I tried reaching out to Sony about repairing this DualSense controller, and it's out of warranty now, and they won't repair it. Where Nintendo will, and I'm not trying to, like, thank Nintendo for, like, fixing stick drift, but I don't know if actually any of my Joy-Con have ever drifted yet. Knock on wood. But I know if it did, I would feel very strongly.
I've
about
had,
it.
like, I think 6 controllers have stick drift.
Oh my
I bought new
gosh.
controllers and they would get stick drift, and yeah, other people I knew would get stick drift. It was just it sucked. Luckily, I've not had it on any like my duals, and I have two. I've had them for quite a while. I've not had any issues because you got yours quite recently.
I was
right?
gonna say, you said it's out of warranty, and then I realized you bought it quite recently.
PlayStation 5 controller.
And that
right?
one, it was a pre-owned one as well. So maybe that's it. Maybe the person, sold it because it started to have stick drift, but it
That
didn't.
makes sense.
Where did you?
When I
was
started-
it from a like retailer, or was it just you bought it privately?
Yeah, I bought it privately.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
But it was working fine when I bought it. And I think that's
Yeah.
I don't know, that's the hook there. But
That's
it's good
the
to have the
rub.
details. But hopefully, right, in 2 years, hopefully we don't have stick drift. In a year,
Yeah.
hopefully we don't with Switch 2. But
it is
no
sort
Hall
of-
effect.
Should be expected. I feel that what you buy for your money works.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And for the time being, we have no idea whether stick drift is going to be an issue. We can see that it is a brand new style of stick. They're larger for one thing, and I think that was a big issue with the Switch One. Part of the reason was because it was so compact, sort of it was easier for stuff to get caught up and things like that. They crammed too much in too small a space. So with any luck, it's a larger, it's a larger module, and it won't have the same issues. It will probably eventually drift, I'm afraid, because nearly all controllers do. And that is disappointing, don't get me wrong, but with any luck,
Why
it
do
will-
they do that?
Sorry?
Why is that an issue? Why do they drift? Is it because dirt gets in there? Because I know that was
It's-
one of the issues that could be with the Joy-Con.
It's dirt, it can be debris, detritus, it can be any number of things, but basically anything that interferes with that sort of that wiping motion of the blade. And so that can be, things getting in the way. It can also be that the blade gets worn down and or the sort of the movement back, the spring starts to get an issue is also a possibility. I say
Okay.
that, I am only interested in this. I'm by no means an expert, so if I am saying anything wrong and anybody does know better, please do let me know in the comments. It's usually it's something interfering with it, and it is usually a physical problem, which is why magnets can fix those. But there are magnets on the Switch itself, so that
Yes, that may be why they haven't used it.
possibly the thing is that you could compensate for it. Maybe, I don't know, but I'm certain you could compensate for it because there are two magnets in there, and they have to compensate for each other. So I'm certain there'd be a way around it. But it's possible that Nintendo just, there is another reason that we don't understand that
Sure.
they didn't want to do it. And it could just be a cost thing as well. But that is the situation we're in. So thank you, Xeon and Alana, for enlightening us on that. And thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you go towards that subscribe button? Oh no, you've been repelled. It's a magnet.
It's because
And
they're
be
already
sure to check out
subscribed.
Nintendo Live.
Not the magnet.
And be sure to check out NintendoLive.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.